Hey, welcome. Have you ever wondered what a data analyst really does day to day? It's one of the most critical roles in any company today, but it can seem a little mysterious. Well, we're going to pull back the curtain and break it all down into 5 key tasks. Let's get right into it.
So it all boils down to this one huge question. You've got companies sitting on absolute mountains of raw data. Sales figures, website clicks, customer feedback, you name it. It's messy, it's chaotic. How on earth do you get from that to a single, smart, confident decision? That, right there, is the data analyst's mission.
And the answer, of course, is the data analyst. You should really think of them as the company's official data storyteller. They're the ones who bridge the gap, who translate all that complicated information into something meaningful, helping the entire organization run a whole lot smarter.
So how do they pull it off? Well, their work really flows through 5 core stages. First, they prepare the data. Then they model it, visualize it, analyze it, and finally, manage the insights. Let's take a closer look at each piece of that puzzle.
All right, first up is prepare. And honestly, this might be the most important and often the most time-consuming part of the whole process. You just can't build a solid house on a shaky foundation, and it's the exact same idea with data. So what exactly is data preparation? It's this all-important process of taking that raw data, which, let's be real, is usually full of errors, missing pieces, and inconsistencies, and turning it into something you can actually trust. It's about profiling, cleaning, and reshaping that mess into a reliable format that's ready for action.
And you have to understand, the stakes here are incredibly high. If you get this part wrong, everything that follows is basically useless. You get invalid reports, people lose trust in the data, and that can have a real negative impact on the business. But when you do it right, that's when you get trusted insights, efficient models, and your data's secure. It's a total game changer.
The day-to-day work here is almost like being a detective. Analysts are sifting through everything, cleaning up typos, correcting wrong information, and sometimes completely changing the data's structure, like, say, taking 10 different ways people wrote a date and standardizing it into one. Plus, they're making sure private info stays private and that the data connections are running fast and smooth.
Okay, so once our data is clean and pristine, it's time to give it some structure. And that brings us right to our second step, data modeling. Data modeling is all about connecting the dots. It's the process where the analyst figures out how different sets of data are related. How does your sales data talk to your customer data? Or how does your product inventory connect to your marketing campaigns? They build a logical blueprint that makes all the information work together in a meaningful way.
And look, you can't just slap these connections together. This quote really says it all. A bad model won't just make your report run slow, it can completely destroy its accuracy. If the model's wrong, you can bet your insights are going to be wrong too.
But on the flip side, when you nail the model, the payoff is huge. Your reports are way more accurate, and it's suddenly so much faster for people to explore the data and find what they need. It also makes the analyst's life easier because reports are simpler to build and maintain later on. It's a classic case of work smart, not hard.
Okay, our data's clean, it's structured. Now it's time for the fun part that everyone gets to see, bringing it all to life with visualizations.
But let's be super clear. The point here is not just to make pretty charts. The real goal is to solve business problems by telling a story with the data. A great visualization doesn't just show you numbers. It guides you through a narrative and leads you right to an important conclusion.
So what goes into a great data story? Well, it's about choosing the right kind of chart for the data you have. It's about creating a clear path for the reader to follow, and this is a big one, not overwhelming them with too much information at once. Even things like colors and fonts matter. Every single choice should help make the core message of the story crystal clear.
So we've got our beautiful report that tells a clear story. But the analyst's job isn't over yet. Now we move to step 4, the actual analysis. This is all about finding that aha moment. Analysis is where you actively interpret those visuals. You're looking at the charts and asking the tough questions. Okay, so what does this really mean? What's the pattern here? What's likely to happen next? This is where the analyst uncovers those game-changing insights that were hidden in the data all along.
And this is where modern tools are just incredible. With things like built-in AI, analysts can now dig so much deeper to predict future trends and spot important customer behaviors. This helps the whole company start asking smarter, better questions, and it turns a simple report into a real decision-making tool.
We found the insight.
We found the aha moment. But for that insight to actually do anything, it has to be shared and managed the right way. And that brings us to our fifth and final task, management.
See, the analyst's job doesn't stop when they hit publish on a report. They're also the guardians of all these data assets, the reports, the dashboards, the shared workspaces. They need to manage who sees what, ensure everything stays secure, and make sure the information stays accurate over time.
And just like with the prep stage, the difference between doing this well and doing it poorly is night and day. Bad management creates these awful data silos where no one shares information. It leads to duplicate work and even risks sensitive data getting leaked. But good management? That encourages collaboration, ensures security, and builds trust across the entire organization. It's what lets a company truly get the most value out of its data.
So, let's do a quick recap of that whole journey. The analyst starts by preparing the data to get it ready. Then they model it to give it structure. They visualize it to tell a story, analyze it to find that key insight, and finally, they manage it to share it securely so it can actually make a difference.
When you really get down to it, being a data analyst is about so much more than just numbers and code. It's about being a detective, a guide, and most importantly, a storyteller. Every single data set out there has a story locked inside it. The only question is, what story will you help it tell?